My name's Kyle DeGiulio. I'm a fisheries biologist for the Yurok tribe. I've worked on the Trinity River since 2007. And we're standing in Indian Creek. Indian Creek's a major tributary to the Trinity River, just below Lewiston Dam. And this creek has been impacted by land use practices, including hydraulic mining and logging. And right behind me, it flows subsurface for a 2-mile stretch in a valley section about midway in the watershed. We're here today because we're doing a restoration project that covers about 21 acres of that valley, and we're employing a restoration technique called Stage 0. And the major objective is to bring the groundwater back to the surface and allow life to reoccupy the valley bottom in the form of riparian vegetation, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and hopefully salmon. That's why we're here. So you can see that the substrate size in this creek is really large. That's because during the winter, when high floods come down, there's a lot of stream energy that carries away all the fine sediment, wood, and really high velocities, which juvenile salmon can't live in. So you'll be able to see when we walk through the project that what's changed, what we've tried to change, and how we hope that it evolves into the future. All right, so I'm standing at the upstream end of the Indian Creek Habitat Connectivity Project, and this is a completed Stage 0 surface. So before we started construction, all the vegetation that you can see was mostly in place. It was saved during the construction process. It was either buried around or excavated around, depending on if the surface was high or low. All of the high areas on this surface were cut, and that was used to fill the low areas. So the high terraces were put into where the channel was formed. And the result is a relatively flat plain that slopes gently downstream. And when water gets out onto this surface, instead of being focused into a channel and flowing off of the project very quickly, it'll meander and have several flow paths around all the vegetation and roughness that's been provided. This should result in more water surface area and more habitat for fish and wildlife. So revegetation is not a huge part of a Stage 0 restoration site, and that's because we hope that the plants that exist here will be seed sources that will repopulate this surface. But we do cut some willows and cottonwoods, which can be propagated through simple cuttings that you stick into the ground. And these are all willows that were harvested on site. We dig a trench and we put some organic material such as straw or wood in the trench. We water it in, and then we backfill. And we hope that these willows will start forming a gallery of riparian vegetation. They also provide roughness for the first flows that'll see this surface. So I'm standing in the lower third of our project site now, and you can see that the creek water has reemerged from the subsurface. There's a bedrock fault that runs underneath my feet that forces groundwater to the surface, and we've actually charged groundwater in a fairly large area since the beginning of the project, over 4 feet. I'm standing in the old river channel. The old river channel was 6 feet below my feet, and the substrate size was very large. You can see now that the water's spread out across this area. It's flowing through the gravels, sorting them, and exposing all different grain sizes of sediment that can be used by different animals. Salmon search out an appropriate grain size to make their nests, called redds, that they store their eggs in to incubate. Lamprey also use fine sediments to live for up to 7 years in fresh water before they outmigrate to the ocean. This area should provide many times more habitat than it did previously because water is occupying the entire footprint of the valley bottom. We hope that this condition, where we have saturated soils and surface water, will propagate upstream and downstream from this point when we start to get our seasonal rains. After our seasonal rains are over, we hope that the filling in of the channel will allow for this aquifer in these gravels to drain much slower and provide habitat for a longer period in the summer. There's depressional features that will provide ponded zones that are well connected to groundwater and will remain cool throughout the summer, providing excellent coho habitat, which is a primary objective of the project since sonk coho, Southern Oregon, Northern California coastal coho are threatened under the Endangered Species Act. So I've been lucky enough to work for the Yurok tribe for 13 years. Yurok tribe is the largest tribe in California, and the people of the tribe are spiritually, culturally, and historically bound to salmon. They are a fish people, and they view themselves as caretakers of the natural world to keep it in balance. They've built a program, a fisheries and restoration program, to help restore that balance, and that's what we're attempting to do at this site. This year, we conducted 4 restoration projects. This is one of those, and we employed around 45 tribal members to be equipment operators, laborers, and scientists on those projects to help restore their own fishery. This is a critical role to preserving the way of life and the culture of the Yurok people, and we hope to return salmon to the plentiful numbers that they were, that supported the people that lived in the Klamath Basin since time immemorial.